Alright, welcome back baseball fans to this eliminating the Portland expansion team video. They are in the expansion division with Arizona, Colorado, and Las Vegas. They normally get the weaker picks of the litter when it comes to getting extra roster players that haven't been protected by other teams. They did okay this time around, and they got the division, which is good. Didn't finish well though. Their final record is 19-23. Last year they didn't make the playoffs. They were 17-20, so they finished a game worse but won the division because the rest of the division was pretty bad. They went out in the off season and made a deal to get Frank Robinson, and that was big news. And Frank had an okay performance, 171 at bats there, 10 homer, 31 RBI, but a 257 batting average, nice on base. Pretty much, you know, what you would expect. Frank has helped 3 teams make the playoffs now. Baltimore, of course, Cleveland a year ago, and now Portland. They all went to the playoffs after acquiring Frank Robinson, much like the Orioles did in '66 when they got him from the Cincinnati Reds. He won the Triple Crown. So Frank Robinson is certainly at least a good luck charm beyond everything else. We'll see if they hang on to him for another year. Al Gallagher played some good third base. He wasn't a full-time third baseman though, with a .388 average. He platooned with Jerry Kenny. Coggins is a 300 hitting outfielder for the 73 Orioles. He hit 300. Montgomery's year, 17 homer and 40 RBI, but look a little closer, he has just 2 doubles, just 4 walks, 53 strikeouts, and a .290 on base. And he was a +2 throwing arm catcher, so you get what you pay for, I guess, with these extra guys. Yeah, the homers are nice, but he also hurt the team a lot. Carbo could have done more with that card. We like the 281 card with it. It was just okay, nothing special. Tommy McCraw has a nice card. Okay, nothing special. Billy Canigliaro really tailed off. He had a hot start. Look at the doubles. He was a double machine. 16 of them. He's like the opposite of Montgomery. 16 doubles, 3 homers, and Montgomery was 17-2. The pitching. The Nelly Bryles is the only guy who can pitch on 3 days rest, indicated by the asterisk next to his name. So we had 3 complete games through 90 innings. Did a nice job. Can't ask, you know, that's fine. And he was a big reason why they won this division. Probably got a lot of no decisions with just 7 decisions in 90 innings. Sadecki, Gardner, and Corbin were the other starters with mixed results. Nothing spectacular there. Bullpen wasn't particularly great either. Bear, the closer, with a 0.53 ERA on his Strat card. We knew it would get knocked around a little bit, but he still did a fine job. A 2.59 ERA in 24 innings, which oddly enough is more innings than he actually threw for the Cardinals in the '72 season. So one of the very rare instances where I'm actually using the player more than the Major League team did in my abbreviated season. So that was kind of fun to see what happens with that card. So let's take a look now at the Portland stack of players. You never know what you're going to get year to year in these expansion teams because it all depends on the extra player card sets of the seasons that are coming up. And are there diamonds in the rough or are they just ordinary? So we'll see. We're going to pull out the 71 guys here. And see the dozen players who will begin the, I guess you can call it a quest to repeat. So let's see what we have here. Well, we've got a ton of pitchers, folks. Well, they did it the opposite way. They went with 5 hitters and 7 pitchers. That means they only have to add 1 more pitcher to the staff. So they got to build out a brand new offense next year. And this is what we have for the offense. Actually, we got some nice pieces. Even though it's just 5 guys, there are 5 pretty good ones. This is the Montgomery card. And you can see all the strikeouts and no walks. 7 and 36. And that pretty much played out that way. You got McCraw. This is a nice Tommy McCraw card of 74. 294 hitter. He was mostly a 230, 240 hitter most of his career, but that's a nice year in 74. Can handle the leather at first base. Billy Parker's just a utility infielder. And two nice bats in the outfield, particularly left-handed bats that can kind of hit lefties. Carbo sort of can. Everyday player, I would say. Coggins, probably not as much, but he's a 318 hitter. So, they have quality with these guys. It's not a bad gig to have these 5 hitters to start with. Now you want to hope that these 7 pitchers we're going to look at comprise what you believe to be a full pitching staff. Let's go check it out. So Nelly will come back to anchor the team, the #1 starter because he could throw over 200 innings. Jeff Corbin is a nice card. Gardner, nice card, nice enough card. ERAs of around 3 and 261, and they're both starter 7s. One's lefty, one's righty. So that's your big 3. That's not too bad. It's not awful. And you have the same bullpen, which you could, well, let's examine how you could use this bullpen. So Durham is a swing starter, if you need him to swing start, but he's really good over on this side as a righty. And Strohmeyer is really good on this side. So you can use those two harmoniously and get some usage. Then when you have to go to a lefty, it's Bill Butler. Now he's just okay, and obviously he's 4-6 with a 4.09 ERA in 74. Was a Royal, here he's a Twin. They seem to like twins. And this is the Ray Bear card. So the 0.53 ERA just translated to me to a 2.59 ERA and a 1.32 WHIP, which is not bad. Again, there's no extra base hits. So he puts guys on base, the single 11 and a 9, a column of hits. But again, no extra base hits, and he can be your closer. You see the 17 innings there. So this is a workable bullpen. So if you really wanted to put some polish here, the thing to do would be to get yourself, a left-handed pitcher who can pitch on 3 days rest. Plug him into the 2 spot. Taking over for Ray Sadecki. Sadecki is the only pitcher they lost. So let's take a look and see now what Portland's going to do with those 8 players, 7 hitters and 1 pitcher from 1971 that they lost. Who are they going to keep, put on waivers, retire, and maybe trade? All right, let's take a look at these 8 players, 7 hitters that they're losing from the 71, beginning with their catcher, or one of their catchers, Bob Barton. 71, he was good defensively, had a nice throwing arm. 121 games, this would be the high mark of his career, which began in 65, with the Giants and the Padres, cup of coffee with the Reds. So here we are in 71. Does he have a card in 72 to get waivers? We'll have to look at the roster sheet for the Padres in 72 and see if I can put this guy on the waivers as opposed to making him retire. Padres had Corrales and Kendall and Blefary, Campbell, Schaefer, and Stanley. No sign of Bob Barton on the Padres of 72. Let's look one more time. That means I'll have to retire Bob. Bob Barton will be retired. Well, we got to play his best year, and he actually deterred a lot of base stealing with a good arms. That was useful for this expansion team. Next player is Ken Boswell. Would have been a Met. The Mets decided they didn't really need to protect him. They had so many other needs, more important players to protect. So they lost Boswell, who was on the 69 squad. Did a nice job, and he was on the 73 squad in a utility role. All with the Mets, also with Houston. 71 card we just played, the 273 card. He should have a card in 72, but it's just a 211. 274 on base, 592 OPS. We like to say he's just a guy here. There's really nothing special going on. He can continue his career, but I don't think they really want to protect him. They want to at least hope for something better. We can just double check and see if the 72 Mets, he was on their roster to get waivers. And there he is. Mets are right there. K. Boswell. So I can give Boswell waivers. I have to expect something better, even for an expansion team. Otherwise, they're just going to get lit up year after year. Next up, Billy Conigliaro. And this could be a one and done thing here. As 71 was a really nice year for him with the Red Sox. See that? 262, 436 slugging, 745. You know, really had a lot of nice OPSs all through here until 72 and 3, it kind of fell apart a little bit. And again, let's say 72 with Milwaukee. Can we give him waivers? And again, we need to get guys on the waiver sheet anyway. Here's the list of 72 Brewers. And he's not listed there. So I've got to look on the extra players. He's not listed there either. That is a shame. So this card, I don't get it. That's 201 plate appearances. All in 72 at age 24, all with the Milwaukee Brewers. I'll look again, just to convince myself here. Felski, Rodriguez, Auerbach, Ferraro, and the outfielders. That's the hitters. Here's your Milwaukee extra players: Bell, Davis, O'Brien, Stevenson. I'll even look in the errata, see if he's in one of those nameless cards. He's not, and that's a shame. So Billy Conigliaro will have to retire. I have no choice. I cannot qualify him for waivers without a Strat-O-Matic card. So that's not good for my league. I don't like to retire players unless I have to, because their career ends in 71. In the case of Barton and Conigliaro, they continued their careers, just not enough at-bats. Next player, Alan Gallagher. Third baseman, came up with the Giants, or he was with the Giants, never really took over full-time duties. Then it went to the Angels. So in 71, he did it 277 with the card we just played. He's still with the Giants in 72 and 3. Split 73 with the Giants and the Angels. 72, the 73 season is pretty good, really, 272. But for waivers, I need a 72 card again, this time for the Giants. So we'll look at the Giants, 72 Alan Gallagher. And there he is. So I can get waivers on Gallagher. This is not a good start, but don't worry, folks. I mean, these teams, there's still plenty of keepers available in this off season that can't be kept because there's too many of them. And Portland could be the beneficiary, as other teams are going to cut players that are better than these Portland players we've just analyzed. So that's what they're going to hope for and pounce on those guys. The next guy, Jerry Kenny. Left-handed hitting infielder, outfielder. Interesting. Can play third base and center field for the Yankees. And then with Cleveland in 73. Okay, again, you know, maybe this is why Portland went to the playoffs, because these 5 guys all had better years than anything that's happening in the future. So we got the maximum we could get out of this Portland roster, it would seem. Out of Barton and Boswell and Conigliaro and Alan Gallagher and now Jerry Kenny. Do the Yankees have a 72 Kenny card? Take a look at the Yankees. Jerry Kenny in the infield. And I don't see him there. He's not in the outfield either. Let's go take a look at the Yankee extra players. He's there. Alright, so he gets waivers. So now that I have 3 guys on waivers, worst case scenario, I could keep one of these 3 guys. Because I know Strat-O-Matic made their card. I would hope I can find 3 keepers and possibly trade for more. We've got all these pitchers. Remember, we have 7 pitchers on our roster. We might have to trade 1 or 2 of them to get some keepers. And there are teams with plenty of keepers. 5 evaluations, and we've only spent $302. We're supposed to spend $40,000. We've only spent $302. All right, next player is Frank Robinson. Okay, so he might be on the move again, folks. Though, it probably makes sense and say, hey, look, Frank, we are so desperate. Please stay here 1 more year. So here we are with Frank. So here's the exodus. He goes from Baltimore to the Dodgers, to the Angels, to Cleveland, then manages Cleveland. So there's plenty of suitcase duty here. I said he's played for Baltimore and Cleveland and Portland. I really doubt the Dodgers are going to need him. And the Angels would probably prefer Don Baylor to Frank Robinson. And the Indians have enough talent in the outfield. 72 and 73 are fine seasons. You know, I'm thinking keep this guy. In a surprise move, instead of moving on and getting his passport and packing his suitcase again for another trip to another franchise, Portland says, hey, Frank, why don't you stay here 1 more year? We just won the division. We think we're going to get better in the offseason. Please? So, he is a keeper. Next guy is Fred Stanley. Chicken Stanley. Kind of a guy who has a couple decent years here that are kind of scattered all over. 77. This card's nice. 370 on base. That's a nice Fred Stanley card. He's got a nice 79 card with power. Or is it? Yeah. But anyway, here we are way back here in 72, 3, 4, and 5. Oh boy. So 72, he hits below the Mendoza line. 73. But you know what? Defense could matter more. Can we get this guy to play some defense at short for me? First of all, let's see if he makes waivers in 72 with either the Indians or the Padres in 72. Indians or Padres in 72. Let's take a look. Cleveland, Fred Stanley, he's not there. Nope. Cleveland or the Padres? Cleveland, Fred Stanley is not there. How about the Padres? Padres in 72. Fred Stanley, he's not there. And over here for the Padres. Oh, he's there. Well, he gets waivers as well. This is what happens, folks. Once you get a huge waiver pool, the top 64 guys who are on the waiver list will be on the waiver list, and guys beyond that get kicked into retirement just because you want the highest quality waivered players you can find. And so right now, looks like Portland is going to have to make some trades in the offseason because you have to have 4 keepers. So you have Frank Robinson, one more, and the only pitcher here is Ray Sadecki. And he's actually going to have some good stuff coming up here, I think. Through 77. Ray Sadecki. Left-handers are always in demand. Long career. 1960, 19-year-old Cardinal pitcher. For the Giants. And the Mets. And the Cardinals again. Braves, Royals, Brewers. Bounces all over the place. Lefties tend to do that sort of thing. Here we go. So 72, 3, and 4 are all ERAs around 330. Ah, he's a keeper. I mean, I'll look to see if he got waivers in 72 and 75 innings. Probably should have. But that's not going to be the ultimate point. We want to keep this guy. Because we are so desperate for keepers. There's Sadecki. So he's a keeper. And if we kept him, one thing we do notice is that the pitching staff would run it back the exact same way. Sadecki was a starter, but could not pitch on 3 days rest. Nor could Corbin, nor could Gardner, nor could Durham. But they could run the same thing back. The question is, can Ray Sadecki still start games? in one of his years of 72, 3, and 4. And here he is, 72. You see, he's transitioned to the bullpen here. 34 games, 20 starts. Now he's just got 2, 11, and 10 starts. But that's not bad. You could put him in the bullpen and move Don Durham or John Strohmeyer or both into the rotation as your number 4 and 5 starters. Move Rob Gardner and Ray Corbin up. Or again, make a move, make a trade. So that's it. That's all we have for this team. 2 keepers, 4 guys on waivers, 2 guys on retires. They're going to have to make a deal in the offseason. The way you make a deal is that you offer up one of your players on your roster, your Carbo, Coggins, Montgomery, McGraw, Billy Parker, or any of these other pitchers. You offer them up in a deal for a player of less quality and to a team that has too many guys they want to keep. Let me just take a quick peek and see if I can identify some teams that have a lot of keepers. The Reds have 1 extra keeper. They have 5. Let me keep going. There's some more in here. Here you go, the Mets. So there's your trade partner. The Mets have way too many guys they want to keep. They want to keep all 8 of these guys. So they can unload a couple of these on Portland. That would really help out. Obviously not Tom Seaver. Obviously not Tug McGraw or Bud Harrelson or Cleon or but for instance, they could trade Gary Gentry. He's a starting pitcher to Portland. They could trade an aging Cleon Jones, who's probably run out of juice in New York. Heck, the Mets have had this tradition of trading. 2 years ago, they traded away Cleon Jones. Last year, they traded away Don Clendenon. This year, they could trade away Cleon Jones and completely gut the Miracle Met 69 players offensively. But anyway, this is a conversation well into the future, into the winter months and into the spring of 2024. But it just goes to show you that that's what Portland could do. Also, the Seattle Mariners have extra guys. They have 6. That's how these teams, so get Portland back up here again, can get the 4 keepers, 2 waivers, and 2 retired players they need before they start drafting in 2024. All right, thanks for checking this out. We'll see you next time.